it wasn't, it was more of a lack of action on my part than an it was more of like a passive thing. I was involved with somebody for a number of years, a really kind and nice man who was unfortunately a little on the gullible side, and I believe, and I need to make the point here that we were considered co-defendants, and in West Virginia that precludes any, posting, like once we were incarcerated, we weren't allowed to have any contact with each other. I believe he got out before I did, and that a lot of that had to do with home plan requirements. I think he had an easier time of it, but he passed away actually before I was even released. So there are literally parts of the story that I still don't know to this day. It was a facility that had like units in it, and I believe they were going in and out of these units. I think that there was crack involved. I know that I saw a lot of things that I chose to ignore. And when he was arrested after a couple of these incidents, he used me as one of a number of alibis to the police. So I was questioned as an alibi witness only. And I just debunked it, and when they pressed me on some further things, this wasn't at the police station, I was a little resistant, so they gave me an obstruction charge and then a resisting, which I earned that resisting charge, I will say, not necessarily the obstruction. So I obviously was taken into the police station. While he was processing my paperwork, somebody else stopped by where I was, and I was handcuffed to a bench, and said, "Are you here in conjunction with such and such an event?" And I said, "Nope, that's not me, that's, and I indicated who it was. And I think I need to stress, as a daughter of a detective, that this gentleman was just like in board shorts and, you know what I mean, and never identified himself. And he said, "Be honest with me. Did you know what was going on?" And I said, "Well, I had a damn good idea." And that bought me a conspiracy charge. Doing this type of thing is nothing new whatsoever for me. It's a different playing field, and the passion that this effort engenders in me has so much to do with what I saw. Again, growing up as law enforcement, and then when I moved to Ohio, when I got married, I got involved in some local politics there, including for the prosecuting attorney of the county in which I resided. So I had some, insight to other criminal justice systems, and this one is just it's oppressive, it's a vicious cycle, and this is something I'm going to be really careful about how I represent this, because I don't want to offend a single solitary person. But I think there's something about not growing up in West Virginia where people become accustomed to the systems and the structures of these systems. I grew up with something more democratic, more free, you know what I mean, less restrictive. Pittsburgh obviously had a huge economic hit with the steel industry, and renaissance their way right out of that. It very painfully, but in about 10 years, where you still see the coal thing, lingering on here to virtually no benefit, but no willingness, to take that short-term pain for the long-term gain. So I think that I bring a different perspective to this. There's so much, but I think that if I were going to pick one issue where I would most like to see them make some meaningful change, it's got to be on sentencing reform. I mean, there is so much judicial discretion that is, the judiciary here is very empowered by the laws, and the laws are broadly written. 3 to 30 for shoplifting is not uncommon here. It's not super common, but it should never be common. Prison for prostitution because of these crazy 3 strikes laws. I was angry, quite frankly. When you're incarcerated, there's a degree of pain that goes along with that, obviously. And I think what happens to a lot of people is once they are released and begin living their lives again, their normal lives again, that diminishes, and that pain diminishes quickly. As a mom, I've always said, you know what I mean, if we were able to be present in that pain of child, who would ever have more than one child? You know what I mean? That's a survival mechanism that we all possess. But remember, I'm hours away from my family. I missed my older child's high school graduation. You don't get a do-over on that. So to an extent, I'm still in that pain. I'm still in that discomfort. So that definitely keeps you motivated and moving forward, and any chance to redeem something out of an experience like that is a gift, I believe.